Being the owner of a giant IP such as DC, you'd think would bring in a lot of exciting opportunities to bank on these characters. I mean, you own the rights to make content centered on the likes of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, some of the most iconic characters in all of fiction. Surely nobody would be dumb enough to leave millions upon millions of dollars on the table by sidelighting some of these characters for years to come, right? We all know how much of a crap fest the live action theatrical side of things were prior to the takeover by Warner Brothers Discovery and the formation of DC Studios. Plans shifting constantly, projects getting cancelled left and right, actors coming and going. It was a whole mess. But there seems to be some potential in DC getting their deserved success in the live action movie medium. They've been praised for having excellent animated movies and shows in the past, but the one medium that's just filled with untapped potential is gaming. Yes, there have been successful franchises like the Arkham series, Lego Batman, and the Injustice games, but that's kinda where the heavy hitters end. You'd think that with the recognition some of these characters have, they'd at least have AAA titles by now, but there's not a lot on the horizon. Marvel has been kicking DC's butt in the gaming division for a good while now.
Roll the windows up. What's going on? Roll the windows up, hurry! It fucking crashed! He's broke, he's homeless, he's gonna try to ask for money. Roll the windows.
Luckily, it's not too late for Warner Brothers games to take action and realize just how much they've been missing out in not giving other characters who aren't Batman a chance in getting their own video game. Some might argue, well, they had games where you didn't play as Batman and those still failed. Well, games like Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League didn't underperform because you couldn't play as the Dark Knight. They're just simply not great games. Funnily enough, both of those games piggyback off the Batman IP in some way, with Gotham Knights centering on the Bat family and Killed the Justice League attempting to cement itself as part of the Arkhamverse, which was a main selling point. On the opposite end of the superhero spectrum, you have Marvel Games, a publishing brand that manages the licensing of Marvel properties to various video game publishers and developers, allowing third-party studios the opportunity to create games featuring popular characters under the Marvel banner, which is why you have a plethora of Marvel games that have been released or are in development from a multitude of different studios, from Sony and Insomniac Games to EA, Arc System, and Bethesda as examples. I don't understand why DC and Warner Brothers can't do the same thing for their characters. A DC Games division would do wonders for the brand, because the way they've been moving post Injustice 2 is indicative of them needing to get their act together, not having any successful AAA titles in almost a decade. Releasing multiple crappy mobile games back to back is insane work.
Get your shit together! Get it all together and put it in a backpack! All your shit, so it's together! Get your shit together!
There are plenty of publishers who would want to get their hands on an IP as popular as DC. Not saying they should go to these companies specifically, but hypothetically speaking, WB could have talks with EA, Ubisoft, or Square Enix to see if they'd be interested in any potential partnerships, or form a DC Games division to make it easier for different studios to pitch their ideas on how to tackle different games centered on superheroes, instead of waiting for Warner Brothers executives to see if they're going to cancel the next Flash or Constantine game. If they don't want to get a Wonder Woman game off the ground, why not make some money by licensing the character out to another studio? I've seen a lot of misconceptions surrounding the cancellation of the Wonder Woman game. Some people go, oh, I can't believe DC Studios canceled the Wonder Woman game. James Gunn hates Wonder Woman. DC Studios had absolutely nothing to do with the cancellation of that game. That was purely a Warner Brothers Games decision. The current head of WB Games, JB Perrett, shut down 3 different game studios under the company, which were Player First Games, WB Games San Diego, and Monolith Productions. Player First developed Multiverses, and since Monolith was working on the Wonder Woman game, their shutdown inevitably brought the game's development to an end, with Perrett claiming that the development of the game was no longer within the company's strategic priorities going forward. Their new priority is to restructure their development studios around the key franchises of Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, and DC, but mainly Batman. That being said, I still think it was very foolish of them to not at least license out the IP for a Wonder Woman game to a different publisher that would take great interest in tackling the character, as the mere concept of a Wonder Woman game brings up a lot of opportunities for story and gameplay. In regards to the current trajectory of upcoming DC titles, I actually don't think they should stop making Batman games, as that's something I see a lot of people suggest. Batman has enough games, he doesn't need any more entries. From a business perspective, that's just not a realistic mindset? Why would a company look at one of the few characters they own that has proven to be a success in the gaming front and go, you know, we've made enough games on this character. It's been making us money, but we just gotta stop. Even with that in mind, the last AAA open world Batman game where you actually got to play as the Caped Crusader himself came out 10 years ago. The Arkham series has proven to be a moneymaker with every AAA entry. While I don't think they should stop making Batman games, he shouldn't be the only priority. It goes without saying that they need to branch out and develop proper games for heroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, the Teen Titans, etc. Ideally, the success of Rocksteady's upcoming Batman game will encourage WB to expand its focus to other heroes, given that the company's current financial situation limits its ability to pursue riskier ventures. Assuming WB has no intent on licensing out DC characters to other studios, which is why it's more than likely the Batman game Rocksteady is working on is an Arkham title that returns to the status quo. Spearheading their new initiative with a proven success could also be seen via the continuation of the Injustice franchise, which is likely to be the next game by NetherRealm Studios after the support for Mortal Kombat 1 concluded. WB Games recently moved forward with their restructuring to focus more on the IPs they want to prioritize. They've promoted several current studio heads to senior vice president roles to help oversee key franchises. For example, one SVP will oversee Harry Potter and Game of Thrones titles, while another will focus on Mortal Kombat and DC related games. The same guy who's the studio head at NetherRealm. Warner especially needs to pump out a DC fighting game given how Marvel got one coming up by the people who developed Dragon Ball FighterZ, and even Invincible's getting a 3v3 tag team fighting game. While I would like for NetherRealm to make another DC fighting game with similar mechanics to Injustice, narratively speaking, I don't really care all that much for an Injustice 3. I'm just not really interested to see that story continue. What more can you do with that universe that hasn't already been done? Does Superman escape from the Phantom Zone, or is Batman forced to free him because they have to work together to stop Darkseid or something? At this point, I'm pretty much over seeing an evil Superman or a sadistic version of Wonder Woman. I feel like it's run its course, but that's just me.
It's dead! Leave it! Let it lie! I'm talking about that shit no more.
But I do understand that the franchise is a moneymaker, so why bother trying to name it something else or go in a different direction? One can only hope that these companies are willing to bank off the potential success of the DCU under James Gunn and Peter Safran. If I were WB Games, I'd get on that Superman hype train sooner rather than later. It's been almost 20 years since the last Superman game. Gunn did confirm that he and Safran work closely with the current head of WB Games and have had conversations with NetherRealm and Rocksteady, seeing the stories both parties are interested in and getting to see early stages of projects. There's also the concept of AAA games set in the DCU, which Gunn brought up as early as the announcement video he did back in early 2023. Apparently the first DCU game is a couple of years away, but we'll see if that'll actually pan out or not. Another thing these top executives need to realize is that not every superhero game needs to be this massive open world with like a 20-hour story. A lot of executives don't realize the potential of not only licensing out DC characters to other publishers, but also allowing them to scale back in scope. Gotham Knights, for example, had a pretty big open world map, having the biggest version of Gotham that's ever been represented in video games. While there were districts that had civilians roaming the streets, there were also a bunch of areas of the map that were pretty much dead space. Very vacant, not a lot of notable landmarks or fun side activities to do to justify a map of that size. Ain't nothing wrong with having Arkham City or Miles Morales sized games every once in a while at a slightly cheaper price. It would definitely help with the output and profit for the company if those kinds of games are well made. If at any chance there is an initiative to have a bunch of DC games in development, I don't want to hear about them until they're actually ready to be released in a reasonable time frame. Don't announce them 4 to 5 years before they're even ready to be deployed, because we all know that did wonders from the Wonder Woman game. When Monolith announced the game at the Game Awards 2021, it was 6 or so months after they got the go-ahead to make a Wonder Woman game in the first place.
When Wonder Woman was announced, like, that was nothing. Like, literally, I mean, if you look at the timeline here, they start working on this game, or they take over this game in April, May, June-ish of 2021. They announce it 6 months later, which I think that probably happened for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons was like, hey, like, Warner, we need to light a fire because we need to actually get something shipped here, because Monolith hasn't actually shipped anything in 4 years now, and they are starting from scratch.
This is probably the most untapped market of the DC IP by a long shot. I still cannot believe we live in a timeline where we got a live service looter shooter Suicide Squad game before Batman Beyond, Justice League, Wonder Woman, or Superman. The math just ain't mathin'. The current state of DC gaming has been a complete laughingstock, getting outshined by Marvel games in every possible way. This is their chance to finally get their get back and make some banger games fans have been waiting literal years for. before. The Superman fans have been starving for decades. The only thing available to eat was Injustice Superman nonsense and maybe a little bit of Lego. All I'm gonna say is James Gunn and Peter Safran better lock in, cause I'm sick and tired of the tomfoolery.